Thanks for being here, Vance. I'm excited to talk to you about all things coaching and mountain bike racing and a sport I know so little about. So I think we'll all learn something today. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
So you've been an outdoorsman of sports for all of your adult life. And tell me, what aspects of coaching have you done in the past that have led to the work you're doing now?
Well, I think skiing was the first one for sure. So a long time ago, I started ski guiding.
Snow skiing.
Yeah, snow skiing. And then when, to be particular, there was a big tram opened up in the States. So I opened up the first guide outfit off of a tram in Big Sky, Montana. So, and with that, I had to add coaching to it, or add teaching steep ski clinics to it. So I got to develop my program. And anyway, through that, I started to explore and learn how to teach people to do what I could do and find ways to be like, okay, how do I do this? What makes this work? And then, and make it fun at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought that was successful, and sold that business, and then stuck with skiing, obviously. I'm always exploring, getting better. I'm a firm believer in a lot of times people get more in sports because they quit trying to improve, and stop trying to improve. It gets boring, and it's just not as fun. But when you know you've made it to a new level, it's more exciting, and it keeps the sport alive. So now I just try to pass that on to other people, and mostly youth, and in both of Jujitsu and mountain biking. And then mountain biking has a lot of connections with what I do, as far as how I think, and my goals as far as being a smooth athlete and making things hard look easy. And Jiu-Jitsu is the same thing. So I just try to tie them all together and show other people what I've learned, and try to find ways to convey that.
I would think that the mountain biking, a lot like the downhill snow skiing you did, and Jiu-Jitsu, I don't know anything about that. I haven't done that at all. But the muscle memory that goes into what you do and making it seem effortless, and, knowing that turn on a ski hill, even if you've never done it before, knowing how to navigate it. How similar is that to mountain biking? I'm guessing, because you're downhill too.
Yeah, I just realized, and I quite thought this before, but I know exactly what it is. It's thinking under pressure. It's a big, yawning, huge slope below you that intimidates you, and steep, and how to perform under that pressure. It's trying to defend a choke when somebody's trying to choke you out, thinking steps and where to grab and how to move. And then mountain biking is similar to both. You have to stay relaxed and use your skills when you could, mountain bikes has gnarly crashes. So it's really intense. When you fall hard. It's not in skiing or on a mat. So it's even another level of intensity that way, like really knowing what you can do before you try to do something.
When you, with downhill skiing, I know that you were sometimes helicoptered in, got to areas that have not been touched. No one's skied it yet. No one's seen it yet. Maybe you hadn't even yourself. And mountain biking, from what I've followed on Mav's Instagram, is, sometimes he'll go see the trail ahead of time and gets a kind of feel for it and can take it in a less aggressive manner to prepare for the race. So what kind of mindset goes into that? Because you don't have that with downhill skiing at all. Sometimes you see something for the first time, whereas bike racing, they still have to show up with the confidence they can get to the speed they need to, even if they get to take it slow the first couple of times.
Yeah, like a lot of sports, it really comes down to like the experience that they have. So when they have a lot of experience to draw from, different kinds of dirt, different kinds of terrain, then they can draw from those experiences and come up to speed quickly. So for instance, when Mav goes to the World Cup in 2 weeks, he has to come up to speed quickly. He has to use all of his experiences, all of the terrain he understands, wet, cold, icy, and draw from those experiences and come up to speed quickly. And so it's a practice day, a seeding day, maybe 2 practice days, a seeding day, and a race day. So it all happens quick, and that's really what makes you good at the sport, especially downhill. I mean, is they're on a particular track. Their tire has to be in literally like a 4-inch wide section for 3.5 minutes, exactly where it needs to be. And if it bounces off, you're probably losing time. So he takes 2 days to decide what that line looks like, and then finding ways to commit to it, to stay on it, and then race that way. And then there's variables and changes throughout the day too. So.
Sure, from day to day, based on weather and other conditions. So now to the family aspect of things, all 3 of your kids have bikes, ride their bikes, compete. Does your youngest Dylan compete yet? Does he compete?
Yeah. We just finished his first season of racing, and we just had the last race yesterday. Actually, we did a whole yesterday. So I'm pretty tired today, but we finished the last enduro race of the year. We had from our little team, from our coaching outfit team, we had some U19 experts, and we had kids in every group, I guess. One of them was Dylan, our 10-year-old, and he really likes biking now, but he his class. Now it's it's a whole family ordeal like this.
And Isabella, she competes as well.
Yeah, Isabella, being the determined little athlete competitor she is, she's already doing really well on the race circuit. In fact, she just picked up her first ambassador deal today with a major brand, race face. So that was pretty exciting. We'll meeting today, and it's a whole family ordeal. We drag the whole family here.
So as a baseball mom, I can only relate to the aspect of like getting your kid there on time. I didn't coach my son. I was going to say obviously, but not obviously. I'm sure there are moms who've coached their sons. I just wasn't one of them. But getting them there and keeping them safe and, full of, hydrated and fed and all of the things that go along with having athletes compete. So from the family point of view, and so you've been successful at sports that would be considered, more outside of the box, right? We're not necessarily talking about baseball or football or anything like that. So what does it mean to you that your kids take an interest in the things that you love? Now, I know that they've done these things with you over the years, but for them to really love it to the level that Mav has to love it to compete at the level he'll be competing at next week, what does that mean to you?
That's a great question. A lot. Like, it means everything. You can't count on these things. We have lots of friends that have kids that I have friends that have kids that aren't into mountain biking, and they would just do anything to get their kid to fall in love with mountain biking. So I think there's a really fine line between pushing them to do things they don't want to do, and I like to or teaching them what they're made of. Like, we do these night rides in the winter, go out in the light. Most of the time, these kids are like, "What are we doing?" And then by the time the sun comes out, they're so stoked and so happy. It's almost like tricked them into like enjoying about because there's so much misery all winter. But no, that's really just twist of fate. Really lucky. I think one of my biggest goals in coaching, and I learned this maybe subconsciously with the kids, is it has to be fun. They're not going to do it for fun. So that doesn't mean necessarily that.
It's okay.
It doesn't necessarily. That's why I guess it goes back to that beginning. Like, you gotta convince them that improving is important and it's also fun. And then, like I said, well, in fact, the great example of that is Dylan just this last year. He was into biking, and then we did some time trials against kids that he's like, "Oh, that kid's fast. The other kid's fast," and we beat him. And he's like, "Oh, I'm fast." I'm like, "Yeah, you're fast." He's like, "I am fast." And now he's so we almost kind of tricked him into it.
Well, good luck to you both this coming week. I'm excited to talk with Mav here in a minute. And just everyone keep up the good work. I think that a family that plays together stays together. That's good.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
A lot of Mav's coaching has come from other athletes too, and other coaches over the years too. So it's definitely not just me. He's had an opportunity to work with lots of really good coaches, really experienced riders and professionals. So it's been a group effort getting him here for sure.
I'll ask them all about it. Thanks for being here.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks for being here, Mav.
I'm very excited.
We are going to get to your big race that's coming up and the World Cup and all of that means. But I also want to talk to you from the point of view of you being not just a sportsman, like an athlete, an outdoor athlete, but also the sportsman that you are and just how much you enjoy the outdoors. I have said about you for a very long time that since you were about the age of 10,
yeah,
if I were stranded on a deserted island in a boat in the middle of the ocean, in the forest, anywhere but probably the middle of a city, you are the person I would want you to. If I could pick one person, it might be you, from the age of like 10 years old, because you just seem very comfortable in that space, but you're also good at it. You know, being in remote areas and figuring things out. And so I'm just excited to talk to that part of your personality and interests. So I know that recently, so you're a hunter, you like to deer hunt and you recently went, I follow you on Instagram, so I saw that you went scouting for areas for deer.
Yeah.
And I said, no bears, right? And then literally the next day, I see this bear, and it's hard to tell how close the bear is from the picture, right? You could be zooming in.
Yeah.
But they're fairly close.
Yeah. I think the closest one I saw on that trip is probably about 20 yards. But I've had bears snap at me, growl at me at 10 yards. So you just kind of got to live with it.
Yeah, it's part of doing what you love to do. Yeah. So when you go out there, one of the trips, the scouting trips, you're out there by yourself, out in the middle of nowhere. And so what is that like? So it's probably a false sense of security, but I've felt more uneasy in the middle of a forest than I have in the middle of a city. Because I kind of know how to navigate the city, right? I don't look at my phone when I walk into my car. I have my keys ready. I still stay in a well-lit area. You know, I try to do the things. So what are some of the things that you do to stay safe?
Definitely, I think the biggest worries would be animals, injuring yourself.
Sure.
That's probably the two biggest things, because everything else, like, it's not like there's people out there. It's not like I'm gonna starve to death. That the only reason I would have something go wrong is if I like broke an ankle, broke a leg, and couldn't walk out. And that particular scouting trip I did was it was a 2-night. So I hiked into the Alpine from the truck. I spent pretty most of the day hiking up to the spot. And then got a little bit of a scout in that evening. Saw a couple bears, but I was after deer. Spent that night, scouted the next day, spent that night. And yeah, the mountain was just kind of full of bears. So I had
the deer
to switch out plans for that particular spot. Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is I do carry like a sat phone. So if I were to like trip and fall and injure myself,
you could get a hold of
umbrella and then bear spray. Probably like the two most important safety.
That and bear spray.
Yeah.
So what I find too is happening, and it's probably because let's say some bear thing shows up on my social media and then I watch it, then I'm going to get all the bear stuff, right? So now it seems like it's happening more often, but we just didn't used to see it that way. But shifting gears from bear, let's talk about just the hunting aspect of things, because I know that you've been, really ambitious and gone door to door and say, hey, what can is this area huntable? And they say, yeah, you take care of the bears and you can hunt for deer, whatever that is. And, you just love it that much that you're that committed to making sure you have a place to go each year.
When I was younger, these past years, dad always couldn't hunt with me, so I kind of just had to hunt around the house in the mountain up behind my house. It's a pretty awesome spot. But now I'm getting kind of older. I'm able to have my own truck, and my real passion is backcountry hunting, getting out where no one else is, and seeing deer that are pressured and don't see humans often, and being in the true wilderness where there is risk and there is danger and there's a heavy pack out, but the reward is so much more, you know.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a break. When we come back, let's talk about that race. Okay, we'll be back in just a moment. We are back talking with Mavic. You have qualified for the World Cup. So tell us what that means. You'll be representing Canada. Tell us what it took to qualify, and tell us what it means as you go into this race.
Yeah, so I qualified for the Mount St. Anne World Cup in Quebec. We'll be leaving in like 8 days. I'm super stoked. And I guess the qualification process is either you're on a factory team or you're supported by Canada. So the top few that this is like the people that are factory team, and then the top few that race regionally and nationally around Canada are selected to compete at Worlds in Mont Saint Quebec. Yeah, I'm really stoked.
Where do you land? Which are you?
I'm not on like a factory team or supported by any huge brands, so I'm going to be racing under the Canada flag and going there on the Canadian national team.
Kind of like an independent then.
Yeah.
Showing up independently. And as you go into this week and you're preparing, it's 8 days away. What about this race? Is it feeling any different for you going into it? Like how you're preparing for it mentally, or I know physically you have the skills your dad was talking about. It's part of being good at this sport, knowing the muscle memory, knowing how to show up, knowing how to adjust based on all the skills you've learned so far. But anything feeling differently about going into this, representing your country and all?
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of weight on the shoulders.
You think?
Yeah. Definitely the biggest race I've ever competed at, and the ultimate stage for a young mountain biker, for anyone. So obviously there's a lot on the line, and I'm pretty excited. I think I have the pace and skills to show other people what I think I can do, and if I could pull it all together, I think I'll have a pretty good result, and prove to myself and others that this career is cut out for me.
And do you want it to be a career? And how long does a career last in mountain biking? I don't know these answers.
Most of you peak around 26.
Okay.
But there are people like Greg and who are racing to their 40s at a World Cup level, so it can vary, you know. But yeah, well, I'd say it's probably one of the coolest jobs on earth. You just ride your bike around the world, and you get the winters off to train, and then go race during the summertime.
That's not much different from how your dad navigated his ski career. Figure out how to maintain that snow ski career so that he could be on the mountain when it was snowing and working when it wasn't. Yeah. Well, good luck to you. Have a wonderful time. Stay safe. And I'm proud of you and excited for you. And I'll be following you and all of the things on Instagram. By the way, you do a really good job on Instagram.
Thank you.
You seem to have that cut and go down.
Yeah.
It's good.
Thank you.
Right. Take good care.
Bye-bye.